Okay, so with our lovely Miss Jojo, hi cutie. I know you guys have a multi-dog household, so you've got three beauties at home, including your gorgeous gal here. So I wanted to discuss a little bit with resource guarding. So like I have a few items down. These would typically be fun chew items, probably pretty high value for some. Um, when it comes to multi-dog households, if we're dealing with dog to dog resource guarding versus dog to human, there's a few different things that we're going to work on and touch base on. So there are some awesome resources on top of the information I'm going to give today as well on resource guarding and interdog some difficulties that could arise. So there is a wonderful two books that I'd recommend. If you've already checked them out, awesome. But if not, it could also help others. So there's Jean Donaldson, who's an amazing author, has a lot of really great content for dogs and families, and she does a lot of work with rescues. So there is a book called Mine, which is all about how to prevent and manage resource guarding in dogs, as well as a book called Fight. So both of them you can find online on Amazon, or if you shop around at bookstores, they might be able to get them in as well. I'm not trying to say you have to be a bookworm and your only option is to go read books, but I feel like the more information we have in our tool belt of knowledge, the more equipped we are to handle situations, but also make sure our dogs are being set up for greater success. So obviously, Miss J could care less that I have chews out right now. She's more interested in the lovely snacks you guys packed, which is great. So resource guarding is a very normal and natural dog behavior. The problem is that for some dogs, it can become really overwhelming from their perspective, and therefore aggression can go up. So also the way we deal with a dog when they're having difficulties with something may actually make the situation worse. So when you're dealing with multiple dogs, I highly recommend to have higher value items or things that have been known to be triggering for some of them out of range until it's a safe time to do individual dog chew time. Some dogs are not very good at sharing. Look at people. We too would not be happy if some person came over and decided to take our car keys and take our car for a ride. So when we get overwhelmed, when things don't go our direction, we too can get feisty and not really enjoy that setup. So ready, Jojo? Come. Oh, sorry, she does here. Ready, Jojo? Here. Good job. And thanks for reminding me because I obviously spaced again. So when it comes to your beauties, right now I just have some items down. She could kind of care less about them right now. If you are dealing with multiple dogs, like with my guys, if they're going to have high value resources, I do have them in separate zones. There's a lot of breeds that are more dispositioned to have difficulties around either other animals, other dogs, and at times even people. So I'm not saying that, again, that is where we're going. But there's moments where genetics play a big role in the way your dog perceives and interprets and does certain skills. So if we know that we have certain dogs that maybe are more tenacious and tend to be easier to get overwhelmed and therefore flustered and then react, we want to make sure that they are being set up for a conducive environment where they don't feel flustered or trapped or agitated. So giving Miss J and Mr. B and your other handsome guy their own zones, which is what you've been doing, can be very beneficial. So if though there are moments where your babes are overwhelming each other, remember rest is really crucial too. So even for an adult dog to a senior dog, 18 to 16 hours, puppies even more, closer 18 to 20 hours in a day for rest. Jojo, here. Nice. Yes, good job. So I was hoping she'd go and figure, maybe let's chew on something intriguing, but she's more interested, oh, maybe she's going to think about it now, but she's more interested in exploring the environment and checking it all out. So when you have resource guarding going on between two dogs, remember that from the dog's perspective, a resource, if they don't get to keep it, from their perspective, it could be the end of their day. So it is a very natural animal instinct to want to hold on to something you find valuable and you don't really want to share it. If, for example, we were to scold a dog who says, leave me be at a low warning. So like, let's say your dog sees the other dog friend coming into the environment. They have a chew item off to the side. And as the other dog enters the room, your dog either becomes sort of rigid or a little bit of a freeze or pause moment. Their eyes could get a little bit hard. There could be the whale eye, which is where you see the whites of the eye on the side. But maybe your dog from even across the room does a little growl. If we were to scold the growl, we're going to create a dog that gives no warning and might go to the next level of get away, you're overwhelming me. So we do want to be cautionary that we're setting up our beauties for success. So managing the environment, preventing the rehearsal of the skill so it doesn't become more well mastered, and then try to give appropriate chew items when they have breathers where there's a safe zone for each individual pup. You could also try a little bit with practicing tethering off to the side, give chews, and then give little breathers for all the babes. So you don't have to necessarily go into a crate if, let's say, that's a little bit more stressful. I know Mr. B has his little corralled section, but I know he's starting to get bigger. I would still recommend to have little zones for him to also enjoy some items while she can maybe do her own thing. Ready? Jojo, here. Nice job. Good girl. So dog to dog, you're more than likely not going to necessarily get rid of the guarding behavior, but you can manage it and prevent the rehearsal of it getting bigger. So because barking, digging, chasing, biting are natural dog behaviors, they don't go away, but we can redirect them to better outlets. So almost like with our little humans, if let's say someone's little one had a lot of energy, they might work maybe, for example, and go to karate, or they might do a soccer camp. But if we give them no outlet, we may find that everybody's going to have a bad day because there's nowhere to put that great energy, and it might go and diffuse into the wrong direction. So ready? Jojo. So she's just doing a couple little find its, some lovely name recognition, a couple little recalls. So very nice job. She's definitely getting much more comfortable with her classmates as well as they're doing their own thing. She can kind of watch from afar and see what they're up to without getting too flustered, which is wonderful. So, but when it's dog and let's say human relations, when it comes to a resource, remember that a lot of times we have become the end of the game. So what I mean by that is when dogs are puppies, we tend to be like, don't eat the acorn, don't eat the mulch, don't eat the sticks. And we're constantly pulling things from their face. If we're also squealing in the distance, drop it, no, out, give, or whatever it might be, when your babe hears drop it, they might think, here they come to take my thing, my cool prize, and I better romp away or maybe try to consume it, which is where sometimes you end up with a gulping behavior where your babe may try to swallow something whole, ready? Which is not always a great option because it could be a dangerous item. If we try to prevent resource guarding by patting dogs, poking at them, playing with their food dish, or putting our hands in their bowl, or while they're chewing an item, start to stroke them, we actually may be creating the resource guarding behaviors we were trying to avoid. So imagine again, we were enjoying the best meal of our lives or something we really enjoy, and here comes somebody to come stroke your hair or take your spoon and give it back. You're not going to be a very happy person if someone were to come to interrupt you in those moments. Where'd it go, Miss Lovely? Ready? Find it. She said, I lost it. There we go. Got to use those eyeballs and the sniffer. She found it. So when it comes to having something they enjoy, you want to be the bringer of the good, not the end of the game. There can be moments where, as long as we're doing this very structured and safely, you could have two dogs enjoying items. And while one is enjoying an item, you could then feed one or the other and take turns giving them snacks while hanging out and start to associate that relaxing in their little spots with a chew and safely being tethered or confined can help them start to associate their friend or their dog buddy off to the side as not being the bringer of the bad because it creates conflict instantly. And it avoids conflict in the sense of contact, where if your dog does get flustered and they can make contact, then it turns into a whole nother can of worms where now your dogs have gotten into scuffles, and that can be something that can grow. So we don't want to have dogs duke it out and try to figure out who the top dog is. Because what I tend to bring that back to is imagine at school, your child or somebody's child that you know is being bullied, and you just tell the kid, don't worry, you'll have to just get over it, get stronger, ignore them. Bullying, no matter what's going on, is not an okay thing. So if you have the bully or the little one is being bullied, that's something that has to be addressed and not just let it work out. This doesn't mean dogs can't communicate. Like I mentioned earlier, if my dog Bill was chewing on a bone and he notices something going by, like let's say another dog passing by, he might be like, not interested, give a little grumble. I want to have a dog that gives a warning, not a dog that's scared to make anything happen. And now because he's been scolded for giving warnings, now my dog goes right into attacking the other thing. So ready? Jojo, here. She's doing a great little recall here. Oh my goodness, chewing and running. Good job, cutie. What a smart woman. Good job. So when it comes to your dogs engaging with each other, there can be moments where dogs can figure out their social little dynamics. But remember, dogs are not pack animals. They're social beings like we are, but they don't hunt together in groups. They don't have a breeding pair where the parents stay together and they, again, take care of the litter. That would be more of a wolf pack. So when there are these concepts that dogs have to figure it out between each other, it tends to actually create bigger behavioral problems because behavior tends to get bigger, not more soft. So if there are moments where your babes are trying to figure out their social dynamic, we want to make sure that it's supervised and it's going in the direction for both dogs to be a healthy interaction. So dogs can growl, they can snap, they can go to do a little bite, but we really don't want this to get bigger than even that, because then your babes are really just not feeling comfortable and the conflict that is brewing might turn into an all-out dog fight. So when it comes to multiple dogs and we have a little bit of an older lady and then a puppy, puppies do not have the greatest social skills yet at times. Ready? Jojo. She's like, hold up, something amazing smells off in the distance. So if, let's say, again, I miss Miss Lovely over here. She's a little odor distraction. Ready? Jojo. So I'm going to try from a little closer, so I'll be right back. We're going to get Miss J's attention. Hi there, cutie. Nice job. So if I'm trying to work with her too as I'm blabbing, you didn't even see the snack, is I would go and help her be successful. So if, let's say, she didn't notice that I was asking for her attention because she was stuck on an odor, there's some good smells in the building, that's where I would try and go and help her redirect away from that distraction. Ready? Jojo. Nice name recognition. Yes, good job. So when it comes to these engagements with your pups, just like with us, there are some folks that have amazing social skills, and under stressful situations, they won't break down, they won't start crying, they won't start yelling. Some people, because of lack of social skills, can get easily overwhelmed, easily flustered, and maybe go and use their physical body in ways they shouldn't when they get upset. So just because dogs can escalate behaviors like people doesn't always mean it's the healthiest outlet. So when it comes to our dogs, again, I have a multi-household dog relation scenario too, where I make sure that my boys are set up for success. So knowing that certain breeds are maybe more disposition to guarding because it was bred in them as a very helpful behavior to have, we want to make sure that outlets are safely given, there's structure to the dynamic, and we also want to root out medical. So dogs can also, ready, Jojo? She's like, I hear a funny noise. Nice check-in, ma'am. So dogs can also become a little bit less comfortable or have a shorter fuse when things don't feel good. So I'm not even saying that's where we're at. Miss J is being a senior again, so there could be moments where joints could be a little sore. I mean, look at us. As we get older, certain things don't always feel the same as they did when we were younger. So, and our likes and dislikes will also change. So puppies might be a lot more responsive and receptive to a lot of new things. Adult dogs or even teenagers, their likes and dislikes are going to change as they go through different age groups. So if for right now you're having some pretty challenging moments, like if they're resource guarding, like let's say she's resource guarding you, or it's a space or a certain situation, check in with me, because depending on the dynamic or what you're dealing with for resource guarding, we don't want to scold, we don't want to punish, but we want to help them be set up for better success and giving them outlets or better setups that might avoid the dynamic that's happening at the time. So ready, Jojo? Nice check-in, cutie. So again, of course, she doesn't care any of my snacks that are out. The other thing that you guys would want to practice, so if she's not resource guarding against items from you, you don't have to worry about so much about the treat exchange game or the toy exchange game. I'm sorry, the treat exchange is not what I should call it. So there's either the toy exchange where you're rotating through different items, and then there's the treat and retreat game, which could be beneficial too. But if it's just her with her siblings or just her with the puppy, it would be probably one of those situations where you've been doing a great job with your management thus far. Make sure we don't take less time to set up management as Mr. B is heading more into teenagehood as he's getting closer to 6 months. So because the relationship when he was much smaller and was easier for maybe Miss J to feel less overwhelmed by him, the bigger he gets, she could potentially find him a little bit overwhelming. And we want to make sure that as he's hitting adolescence, he's not overstepping like his nice behaviors around her too. So because behaviors for dogs and their relationships can start to change depending on which age group or what sort of dynamic each one is coming from. Typically the relations that tend to do best, and this doesn't mean it's always, is female to male. Then the easiest relationship from there would be male to male. And no offense to us ladies, but the girl to girl relations tend to be the hardest. And that's where a lot of female dogs do tend to sometimes have a challenge with other girl dogs. And this is not always, but about 85% of cases where it's been dog-dog aggression, it's been with same-sex scenarios. So females, I believe it's like 85% of dog fights tend to be girl to girl, but it's not always that way in every situation. So we do want to make sure that we're setting up all of our housemates for great success. So ready, Jojo? So maybe what I'll do is, again, if she's not really interested in my chews, I was hoping to work a little bit with that treat and retreat. Ready, Jojo? But maybe we'll do a little bit with some play, and I'll move some of the items away. But when practicing with household items, so like be it shoes or tuggy toys or whatever the dynamic might be, make sure that for right now, if she's struggling or he is struggling, hi cutie, or there's certain items that you have deemed really difficult for the gang, is to, for now, pull them out of range and then try to open up chew time throughout the day or throughout the week, because you don't want to take everything away from your babes where they have no outlets. But make sure that just like with little humans, if they're not doing the greatest job sharing, we sometimes have to give little breaks, and you sit here at your desk and you work the coloring book, and you sit over here and you work your Legos. So that way we can kind of try to keep the peace while everybody's working on those social skills. So ready, cuties? So we'll throw in a little bit of play for our gorgeous gal. But I would definitely reach out and check in if you're having certain dynamics that I didn't really touch base on today, because resource guarding, just like many dog behaviors, can be extensive and can vary slightly depending on the dynamic or the setup or the situation as well. Oh my goodness, good job, cutie. So if your babes, it's mostly dog to dog, and you want to let me know of the lay of the land again or where things are being problematic, for a lot of dogs, it's also spatially. So if they feel there's no out because one of them is sitting and enjoying something on the couch, or you're sitting next to them and here comes the other dog, they can sometimes feel a little bit trapped in that spot and feel that there is no out. What a good job, cutie. She's like, guys, this is so exhausting. Ready? You want to go get it? So, but for our gorgeous gal, if again, some of those resources you haven't checked out, I would highly recommend to check out the book Mine by Jean Donaldson, as well as the book Fight, which is also by her as well. But we'll maybe give Miss Lovely a little breather from some of the play. And what I would recommend is, again, just reach out if there's a certain dynamic that I may have not touched base on, so we can make sure we're getting the ball rolling in the right direction. But Miss J is doing a stellar job for, again, week number 2 again. And we'll give her a little breather so she can catch her breath, and we'll work a little bit with some other skills. Huh? What do you think, cutie? She's like, that was exhausting, but thank you. So much fun with the flirt pole. But very nice work. And we'll do another little find it for this gorgeous gal, and we'll give you a little potty break, and we'll take a little moment.